Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jen. I do cooking, canning, and food preservation videos, and sometimes I even do garden vlogs. If that seems like the sort of content that you'd be into, I hope that you'll consider subscribing and sticking around. Today I have a super simple recipe for you that makes a fantastic Thanksgiving side dish. I thought I would go ahead and dedicate November to Thanksgiving dishes or side dishes that may not be like your grandma's Thanksgiving side dish. We're not going to be doing stuffing or sweet potatoes or any of the old standards. We're going to do some things that maybe you've never heard of before, but are very easy and delicious. Now, if you're new to the channel, you may not be aware, but I have a family of 6 adults that I feed. So the amount of food that you see cooking here, you won't need this if you just have a smaller sized family. So the measurements that I'm going to give you is for a single batch of this. Now to start this off, I went ahead and I cooked a half a package of bacon till it was almost crispy in the oven. I didn't want it to be super crispy because it's going to go back into the oven again and that will finish crisping up the bacon. I have 2 bundles of asparagus here, but one should be plenty if you're cooking for a smaller family. And all I'm going to do here is just trim off the fibrous ends of this. Now you can go through every one of these and bend it till they snap, but I just bent one after I got them all even and then chopped the rest off to match the first one that I snapped. I have sorted and washed my asparagus. You really want to wash your asparagus because critters like to hide in the tops of your asparagus. I'm also using store-bought puff pastry. Making homemade pastry dough has not been my forte and I have not mastered that yet, so we're going to take some shortcuts today, which is fine. That just makes this recipe that much easier. So once I've trimmed and washed all of my asparagus, I'm going to add it to a large bowl and I'm going to drizzle olive oil over it. Now I used a couple tablespoons. You just want enough to coat the asparagus and this helps keep it from burning when you bake it later. Asparagus cooks very quickly. To this, I'm going to add some garlic powder, probably about a teaspoon if you're doing a single batch. I'm going to add some salt and some black pepper. You want to go really easy on the salt if you're not using low sodium bacon or if you're not using turkey bacon, something that has a lower sodium content. The bacon will add a lot of salt to this dish. So I just give it a really light sprinkle of salt, and I know that the bacon will take care of the rest of that for me. Now, once I get all of the seasonings on there, all I'm going to do is with a clean hand, just mix this all together until all of the asparagus spears are coated evenly with the oil and the little bit of seasoning that we put on here. Now, this is your recipe. If you wanted to add more seasoning to this, you absolutely could. I'm not eating what you cook, so make this the way you like it to taste. Now on to my puff pastry. Just a recommendation, keep your puff pastry in the refrigerator until you're ready to use it. That way it stays nice and cold. It was very warm in my house on this day, and I struggled a little bit with this puff pastry by the time I got done with it. So definitely make sure that the space you're working in is cool and you keep this in the fridge right up until you're ready to roll it out. Now I'm just going to carefully roll this out on my workspace. I'm going to leave it on the paper. And you have a couple options here. Now, if you wanted to be super fancy, you could cut this into long strips and do twists around your asparagus, but I'm not doing that today. I wanted to do something a little bit different. So once I get it all rolled out, I'm just going to kind of fold back the edges where they folded in on themselves, and I'm going to cut this as evenly as possible without pulling out a ruler. I'm not that particular. I'm going to cut it into 8 pieces. And, as I said, if you wanted to get fancy with this, there's other things you can do. You could even use a cookie cutter to cut circles out if you wanted circles instead of rectangles. But for what I'm doing, long rectangles works the best. And the rest of this is so simple. All I'm going to do is detach each one of these rectangles and I'm going to turn them a little bit. And I'm going to use a fork to gently put some holes in the center of this. That's so that it doesn't puff up in the middle. And I'm going to add a few sprigs of my seasoned asparagus. And then I'm going to also add some bacon to this. I found that bacon on the bottom works best, and I actually changed the way I did this as I got closer to the end because I got into a pattern that worked better. But, it doesn't matter. However this works for you. I found that it was easier to put the cheese on the bottom and it didn't fall off when you rolled it up. But you'll see here in just a second. So once you get the cheese and the bacon on there with your asparagus, all you're going to do is pull one of those corners over, tuck in your asparagus, and then fold the other corner over. And then I'm going to place it on a cookie sheet that has parchment paper so that it doesn't stick. You want to give these guys just a little bit of space when you're putting them on your cookie sheet because it's puff pastry. It's going to puff up a little bit and you don't want them to stick together. So I'm going to show you again a little closer up. Poked some holes in it, put my bacon on there. That's the equivalent of one slice. It's just been sliced in half. My asparagus, and then my cheese. For this recipe today, I'm using shredded Parmesan, but I think there's a lot of different types of cheese that would be equally as delicious on this. Gruyere would be nice. Some white cheddar would be nice. You know, anything that you like, whatever your preference is, it's not that deep. You're eating it, you want it to taste good, so put what you like on these puffs. I just had regular access to Parmesan, so that's what I used. Right here is where I decided it would be way easier to put the cheese on before the asparagus to keep the cheese from falling off when I rolled it up. You also don't have to roll these up super tight. They're gonna puff up and the asparagus is gonna sink in. Now I've just taken an egg and added a little bit of water, and I'm going to put an egg wash over the tops of these. That's going to help them be more golden brown, and it's going to give them a really pretty shiny consistency once they're baked. You don't have to do this part. I just think it makes them look prettier. And in fact, when I run my second batch here in a second, I use this egg wash to stick some stuff to the top of this. I don't know why I didn't do this with the first batch, because I definitely preferred the second batch. The Parmesan cheese, everywhere that I sprinkle Parmesan cheese on the top of these with the second batch, that Parmesan just got crispy and it added another layer of texture to the top of these. So I'll show you that here in just a second. So while I was doing this, I had my oven preheating to 425 degrees, and I'm going to put these in there, and I baked these for about 20 minutes. Here is where I decided, hey, I'm putting an egg wash on here. Why can't I just go ahead and put some stuff on top as well? You know, you want to you top things with sesame seeds, so why not put some cheese on top? Cheese makes everything better, right? Any other cheese lovers out there who think cheese absolutely makes everything better? So yeah, I just did the egg wash on this batch here while the first batch was in the oven. Sprinkled on some Parmesan cheese, and then I decided I wanted to add a little bit more black pepper to the top. I love black pepper, so you can omit this step if you like, but I thought that it really made it taste good. So after about 20 minutes, I just removed my pan once everything was golden brown to a cooling rack to let these cool off really well before I tried to move them. The puff pastry does stay soft while it's warm, so you don't want these to be scorching hot out of the oven. And that's it, folks. That right there would be a phenomenal side dish for your Thanksgiving dinner table, or any family dinner for that matter. And it looks great, and it tastes great, and it takes no time at all to make it. So that's all I have for you this week, friends. Until next time, happy cooking.